Welcome to Beyond the Call Light podcast. I'm Gary, the ER nurse, and I'll be your host in the weeks, months, and hopefully years ahead. This is the teaser trailer for Beyond the Call Light, where I introduce myself, share a little bit about my background, and explain the motivation for and mission of this podcast. First, an introduction. Hi, I'm Gary, the ER nurse. I'm a board-certified emergency nurse and have worked in 4 different emergency departments, including a level 1 trauma center. I began my nursing career in a medical surgical ICU, and I have been a nurse for nearly a decade. Now, if you haven't already guessed, I'm a second career nurse. My first career was journalism. I got my start in radio in 1991 and went on to be a television news anchor and reporter, hosted my own radio shows, and was even an award-winning print journalist. Now, I left journalism for the lucrative but unfulfilling corporate world, and then moved on to higher education where I thought I would make a difference, but it didn't turn out that way. Along the way, I became a volunteer firefighter, an EMT basic, having gotten my license in 2004. So why did I become a nurse? That's a good question and one I get often, and it's a rather long story, so I'm going to give you the short version today. About 13 years ago, my wife got sick and needed surgery. I was caring for her as she recovered, and she did make a full recovery and is doing great. But while I was caring for her, she commented I would make a good nurse. I laughed and told her that I love her and I don't think I could do that for other people for a living. But she knew I didn't like my job, and she knew I wanted something that felt like I was contributing to my community and to society as a whole. Now, she's a CPA and a type A personality and had already run the numbers and figured out a way for me to go back to school full-time to become a nurse if I wanted to. I gave it some thought, and with her blessing, I went for it. I started my nursing school journey at age 38 and finished when I was 41. Now you know a little more about me. Let's talk about the podcast and what you can expect. I've spent nearly a decade at the bedside, including surviving the pandemic. I've worked in some of the most intense corners of healthcare, and I've also spent years behind a microphone as a television anchor and radio host. This podcast brings those two worlds together. So what is Beyond the Call Light? It's a podcast about the real world of nursing, not just the textbooks and the protocols, but the human stories, the career challenges, and the insights that shape our lives in scrubs. Each episode will mix education, advocacy, and storytelling. We'll talk about burnout, nurse bullying, and the conflicts that happen between specialties. We'll explore evidence-based updates, debunk common myths, and highlight the human side of medicine that often goes unnoticed. You'll also hear stories from the front lines, unforgettable cases, moments of triumph, and the struggles that stay with us long after the shift ends. We'll have guests, including nurses, authors, educators, and maybe even patients, sharing their perspectives and adding to the bigger picture of healthcare. So whether you're a nursing student, a seasoned nurse, or another healthcare professional just curious about the nursing perspective, this podcast and this space are for you. My promise, every episode will give you something to take away. Maybe it's knowledge, maybe it's perspective, maybe it's just a laugh after a tough shift. So if you're ready to go beyond the call light to explore not just what we do as nurses, but why it matters, like, follow, and subscribe, and join me on this journey. I'm Gary, the ER nurse, and this is Beyond the Call Light.